in the tournament opener. I'm Lou Burris. Sitting next to me is Chase Sparling-Beckley. Chase, let's get down to what we're going to see today. What can we expect from the Japanese team?
Well, this is a very experienced Japanese team, primarily composed of one team, the Bunka Shutter Buzz Bullets. They're a team with a lot of international competition under their belts. They've played in several ECCs. They've played together in this tournament before, going back 2 times to Vancouver, and before then they've added 5 new, mostly college level players to their squad that should bring a lot of energy, and I'm sure they're all very athletic and speedy around the disc. The Buzz Bullets and the Japanese national team tend to bring quite a bit of zone look, and I'm sure given the windy conditions that we're seeing today, they will bring what is sort of pioneered by the Buzz Bullets, a very loose zone up front that really takes advantage of other teams swinging the disc around it and looking for quick strikes to get Ds using speed.
Yeah. So really, it's a lovely zone. I think one of the hallmarks of it is how flexible it is. They really use their quickness as an athletic tool to change the look the zone is providing. So to take whatever the New Zealanders try to do, the zone will adjust to try to take that away.
Flex around it, that's right. Lou, what are we going to see from New Zealand this game?
Unlike the Japanese team, the New Zealand team's a true national team. Probably about half their team comes from the Magon club team out of Auckland. But the remaining portion of their team is scattered across the country. A lot of guys from Wellington, a lot of guys from Christchurch. And so for them, the challenge has really been to integrate those different systems to make a cohesive unit. We will see both horizontal and vertical sets from them depending on the personnel. Defensively, they talked about wanting to play a lot of transition to slow down the Japanese. In particular, they're focusing on number 10 for the Japanese,
Masahiro Matsuno.
Masahiro, really a fantastic player.
Do they have a particular matchup in mind that they're going to try and slow him down with? Just as a little background, I mean, he is a very quick, very athletic, great thrower. He's really dangerous around the disc. He's really dangerous going away, and he's the kind of player that, he has a lot of international competition, again, under his belt, but he has really been the focus of almost every defense that's come up against him in the last 5 years, maybe. Yeah. So does New Zealand have somebody that can hang with them?
It's interesting. The New Zealanders have a big defender that they're confident in, number 17, Logan Ryan, but they had to go outside the country to get him. There's an interesting little loophole in the WIF-DIF rules that you can actually bring a player, if they've lived in country long enough, you can have an expatriate member of your team. In this case, he's from the United States.
Once again, we're going to see a pretty windy game today. Lou, would you expect New Zealand to maybe break out of that man defense and give the Japanese a few zone looks?
I certainly think they would. They're really going to be trying to mix it up and keep the Japanese off kilter. And here we go, the first pull. Pull was not touched by the Japanese player. So it will be walked up to the front of the goal line.
Again, I think on that pull, the New Zealand defender took advantage of the strong backwind that he had there and just threw the big blade, hit the ground, and ran right out of the Japanese offensive player's hands. I think that was a really fortunate break for Japan that wasn't a turnover, or rather wasn't pinned on the back of the end zone.
On the back line, yeah. Those of you watching the States may notice that there are no observers on the field today. Under WIF-DIF rules, there are no observers. The game will be entirely self-officiated. Tanaka checks it in. Horizontal set. Finds Kusano in the middle of the field.
Really heads-up poach in the middle off of the handler by number 8 for New Zealand. He almost made something happen on that first throw. But then he kind of got burned on the give-go to his man coming up the field.
Just going to go back to Takahashi on the far sideline. Kiwis are forcing backhand. Japanese in a horizontal stack. They look up line. Back to Tanaka. Big backhand. Should be a goal.
That was a really great throw right over the middle of the field, over the stack. It's hard at the thrower in that situation not to put a little bit too much air on it, especially going upwind, which would really have played into New Zealand's hands, having the taller defender there.
Yeah.
But he put good zip on it. It hung right where it needed to and allowed that speedy offensive player to run underneath it.
I thought Saito did a really great job on that throw of using the wind, actually. I mean, it is windy, but it's not an impossible wind, and so he's able to throw a low, powerful throw, and the wind slowed it down and made it sit, and that really set up Kamimura to just easy. I mean, he's able to just run under it and pancake it for the goal.
It'll be interesting to see how New Zealand responds here going upwind. Kind of an interesting choice. I'm not sure how that worked out on the flip to have a defensive team starting upwind. I would wonder if the Japanese team maybe decided that they would put themselves in that position knowing that they'd have defense going downwind to start the second half.
Okay, man to start from the Japanese. You notice the Japanese defenders really backing the Kiwis. The Kiwis are a really big team, and they're going to strike deep. Almost identical throw, comes a little short. Second little flip. Out to Dikuma for the 1-1 tie.
And really, again, that their offense, New Zealand's offense, looked kind of a little bit antsy there right at first. They had to throw kind of a tougher throw for a swing than I would have thought they'd wanted. But took advantage of maybe what you would call a thrower's wind. Again, throwing that low, hard backhand.
Almost identical throw to the first point.
Right. And letting that receiver just run underneath it. I wonder if that might change some defensive strategy. It'd be interesting to see if that same throw wouldn't turn into a blade if it was on the forehand side.
Yeah, I mean, the Japanese were forcing forehand, though. I think that was a break throw, or not so much a break throw as the marker just was slow.
Wasn't there.
Getting on. A little surprising to see that much space left by the Japanese defenders.
They are looking, it appeared, whether this is their game strategy or not, or just a sole decision by an individual. I did see a few key positions where Japanese defenders were sloughing a little bit more on players in the middle of the field. I wonder if we'll see more of that, or if they'll really tighten up their defense.
Tanaka, Takahashi with the disc. Backhand force from the Kiwis.
Really aggressive mark, foul called, no contest.
Chance for a deep strike. Instead comes underneath. Switching mark from the Kiwis, causing the Japanese a little trouble.
Foul called again. No contest.
Getting a disc appears to have been tacoed, and they're swapping it out for a fresh disc.
It's interesting to see Japanese handler set is a 3 across, and they're really right now getting almost everything they want. And there's a really classic Japanese throw, if I can characterize it as that. Far side blade, kind of a break huck, really. Just got out in front of the defender, threw a quick, hard backhand fake, and came around on the flick side and threw that really sort of low arching over the stack blade huck to the backside.
But again, using the wind to
really
their
nicely.
advantage, to didn't put so much edge on it that the wind was going to knock it down, and actually was able to find a way to get a little bit of wind underneath it, so it sat up enough. And despite the stumbles by the receiver, he's able to hang on and make the catch.
Yeah.
We see the Australian D squad here talking pretty fervently. That's Peter Sissom, the player coach for the Kiwis, pretty animated with his D squad. Be interesting to see, should the Kiwis score here, what kind of changes we might get.
I am surprised given the sort of the nerves and the wind here. We've had a really clean offensive game, no turnovers yet.
Wide open cut out of the back. Again, soft marking by the Japanese.
Whoa.
Miscue, easy D. Little quick flip motion action by the Japanese. Leads to a big backhand outside in.
Wow.
That's just a spectacular throw.
That is really, I mean, even the New Zealand defender almost gained ground on that, but it just curved right around his head.
Yeah, half a step off, and they're able to drop it in over a 6'4" guy to a 5'6" receiver. Just no chance for the defender.
Well, and really interesting, throwing downwind on the backhand side. I think a lot of people would be really tempted to throw that as flat as possible, but the Japanese thrower really chooses to throw that blade, curves it around the defender, and is picking the spot exactly where it's going to come down instead of throwing something that's going to float and create a 50-50 ball. Really heads-up throwing.
So 3-1 Japan, and in 4 points of ultimate, we've seen 5 hucks. 4 have been successful, and the one turnover was on a miscue on a long throw where the receiver came under and the thrower went out. Be interesting to see if the defenses adjust to try to slow down the long games of these two offenses.
You know, I really wonder, Lou, and we didn't test this, but it's clearly windy up where we are and at the level of the flags, but I'm wondering if maybe on some of those low throws down in the stadium there isn't a little bit less wind. Because certainly those have been fairly successful in both directions.
Yep. Something we'll have to keep an eye on. The throwers certainly seem to be cautious with what they're doing. Vertical stack from the Kiwis. Slow developing.
Long swing.
Kiwis are stranded quite deep. Not much there. A high stall forehand. It's just a little bit too far for Fishman. The Japanese are walking slowly on their chance for second break, and a big 4-1 lead. Here we see that forehand. I like the throw, put a lot of touch on it. Not quite enough going downwind.
That really was just about the only choice that thrower had. His offensive handler, dump set, just kind of stranded him trying to push up the line, and it really, it was clearly a high stall throw, just trying to get rid of it, not in his own backfield.
Nose to Tanaka. Little flip underneath. The Japanese moving easily into space. Another huck. This one's going to be well defended. That time the thrower did not manage the wind particularly well. Put too much edge on it and kept it short. If he'd thrown that another 10 yards, it would have been a goal.
Absolutely.
So here it is, see it come short. And that is Davy Jones for Australia, for New Zealand with the D. I'm sorry, Shane Volicic with the D, and he will be walking the disc in to begin the Kiwi possession. Again, we see a long vertical stack from the Kiwis. Really classic offense, split cuts out of the back. Hammer in this wind, a bit bold. Volicic brings it down, finds Fishman. Fishman puts up a big forehand outside in. Again, the wind giving the Kiwi throwers here lots of trouble. Looked great, and a little gust got up underneath the disc and drug it long.
That was really an excellent, excellent job of poaching off the back by Japan. And I almost thought that Japanese defender actually misread it and allowed New Zealand to get away with one there, but that little gust of wind pushed it a little too far. But they're really camping on that vertical stack on the open side with 3 defenders, 1 off the back, 1 on the inside out, and 1 just camping out in the lane for the unders.
We've got a timeout from the Japanese. Team Japan working upwind. I want to take a minute here, Chase, and just think about the way the Kiwis are struggling on offense. I'm noticing 2 things. That Kiwi vertical stack is really long. It's making those deep throws a little tougher than they need to be. And also, the tempo and the pace of the Kiwi offense is a little bit slow, so they're looking off resets on stalling 2 and 3 and then getting in trouble on 6 and 7.
Yeah, I agree. I think also that long Kiwi stack is allowing Japan, especially on gathering the underneath cuts, to really be able to see those unders coming and adjust to them, really, given a lot of time.
Kiwis again choosing to play backhand here out of the break, and the Japanese making great use of the backhand force and the wind to just chip, chip, chip after about 10 throws. They're maybe 20 yards out. And they're going to have to reset, coming back into the middle of the field. Another little backhand flip. 4-1 Japan. Pick called, and Furuzawa is going to send it back. Kichikawa on the goal line.
Oh, and a tough turnover, just rushed the throw a little bit after a really quick pivot to the backhand side, threw it behind his receiver. So a lucky break here for the Kiwis. We're gonna see them trying again on this downwind side, and again they go vert. And I would characterize this as a little bit longer than you might want going this direction.
Big hammer to start. Wide open receiver, and rush throw for a turnover.
Yeah, I'm not sure in that situation. The thrower chose to throw a flick. Not traditionally what you think of as throwing to a wide open receiver, going to float out into space kind of throw. Possibly his favorite throw, but I might have opted for the backhand.
I'm going to credit the Japanese defender contesting the hammer on that turnover there. The Kiwi goes up, makes a great grab on a contested hammer, but he takes that physical hit. And there's that jolt of adrenaline that comes with it, and that adrenaline rushes that throw. He had time. The marker was on the ground.
I agree. And again, Japan working upwind with the spread.
Tanaka walking it up. Working those little small backhands. Finds a little motion on the inside cut. Back around. The Kiwis have adjusted to really contain those deep cuts, forcing the Japanese to throw a lot of passes. A lot of yelling from the Kiwis. Reset on the push pass. Right back to the same spot.
There's
backhand inside out
backhand.
Across the field.
Wow, that is a really great throw.
Hitting number 9, Furuzawa Takanori in stride.
Similar concept there from the Japanese, really taking advantage, which isn't something you see most of the time in the spread, but really taking advantage of a round side huck. Whether, in that case, it was an inside-out backhand huck that, again, used the wind perfectly to get out there quick and then turn over and float for the receiver. We also saw a similar play with the around flick huck.
Yep. You know what I like about that throw is that all the thrower is doing is he's seeing the space, and he's seeing that his receiver has the opportunity to win that space. And he's just throwing it out there to where it's going to sit and give his guy a chance to go get it, and trusting that his guy is going to do that.
You know, what's interesting about watching this Japanese offense, again, just like you were saying, taking advantage of the small ball quite a bit, and it almost looks a little crowded on the open side. But what it does is it really opens up that break side huck specifically, which is not a spot you would traditionally think teams game plan for.
Particularly interesting for the Japanese to game plan in that way, because considering how little domestic competition there is for bunka, you'd think that would almost tempt them into relying on just
force it on
the open side, because you know that they could in a domestic situation. And maybe that just shows the importance that the international competition has played for bunka.
I think not only that, but the rigor with which they approach the game. You know, one thing you always know when you're going to come in and play really any Japanese team internationally is they're all going to throw and catch really, really well, and they're all going to execute their game plan to an incredibly high degree.
Kiwi's about 10 yards out, and forehand overthrown by Stephen Brown. Genshima taking his time picking up the disc. Really interesting set from the Japanese. It appears actually as if they almost clumped early to disguise what they were going to do, and now they're moving more into the formation that they're planning, which appears to be a pretty traditional vertical stack. A look we have not seen from the Japanese before.
And it's almost an isolation.
Double cut.
And they had to work really hard for a reset there.
Nice layout catch.
Yeah, really good job keeping it alive.
And the Kiwis have chosen to stick with that backhand force. Pretty interesting considering how much trouble they've had containing those little Japanese forehands and backhands. And again, here we see the weak side huck from the Japanese. And Saito comes down with it for the 5-1 Team Japan lead.
The New Zealand player looked like he came up, made a really great effort there on that huck, but came up a little lame. Again, a really, really interesting swing to the break side, and then he goes all the way back to the other side on the huck. And this New Zealand player made a really interesting bid.
Logan Ryan,
but was really, you know, quite late. Good effort, but
I don't think that was his man.
I don't think that was his man either. But you know, in a situation, opening game of a pretty long tournament, you know, came up holding his shoulder.
Okay. Timeout by New Zealand, and we'll be taking a short break. See you in a minute. And we are back live from Osaka for the 2012 WIF-DIF World Club Ultimate and Guts Championship. We are watching Japan pulling to New Zealand up 5-1. Chase, if you're the Kiwis in this situation, how do you approach chipping away at this deficit?
Well, you know, you have a couple things going for you. One, you're smart enough to take a timeout, stop the bleeding, refocus everyone, and you're on an 0 point going downwind here. I think you tell your offense, you know, we've shown that we're willing to throw the deep ball, but let's really play our offense and get a couple of unders, score nice and easily, and get the defense back on the field. And really what you're trying to do in that situation is get your defense pumped to come out and get a couple breaks for you.
Unfortunately, we right away see another unforced error on a forehand. And Tanaka just serves up the big block. And the Kiwis have a chance about 15 yards out. Volstich swinging around to the backhand side. Finds Fishman.
Really loose marking on the transition here by Japan.
Having trouble on the reset. Eventually does find Volstich. Volstich hits the big hammer. Beautiful one-hand catch by Aaron Neal. New Zealand 2, Japan 5.
Wow, New Zealand really a little more aggressive than you would think with that hammer coming across the field, even when it could have been, almost a break backhand in that situation. But excellent concentration by Neal, and New Zealand's on the board.
I think you're seeing here at this point, Volicic really starting to feel comfortable as a thrower. He's just looking at that same weak side separation that the Japanese are looking at, and takes a shot in that space, and his receiver just does a fantastic job for him. Just a lovely, lovely catch.
So once again, New Zealand's got an opportunity now on D to really try and put something together. This would be strategically, if I'm one of the leaders on this New Zealand team, I'm really stacking this line, because this has to be a situation where you at least rattle.
Changing from force backhand.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm thinking this is where you talked about wanting to play transition. Play transition into a middle or force flick. Just do something different to try to break the rhythm of the Japanese team.
Absolutely.
Tanaka. Little reset up the line, back to missed catch by Takahashi, recovered, gains him about 15 yards, and Japanese are right on the goal line. Lots of poaching by the Kiwis. Kuruno dumped. Just a little too ambitious. He had the open swing to Tanaka. Instead, he opts for a high floater for the goal.
I actually really like that positioning there by the New Zealand defender. It made it such that the up line was going to have to be a really contested throw or a floater like that in a tough wind. But he also didn't leave that really easy strike open. Japan takes really advantage of their handler offensive players not being marked, and often will just throw that swing.
Kiwi stuck on the corner and forced to throw a high stall turnover, and the Japanese come right back. Little backhand flip from Sameshima to Takahashi, and we're 6-2 Japan.
That was actually a really interesting throw inside out, almost into traffic, but fortunately for Japan, New Zealand didn't see it coming.
No.
I really just think it,
and again, it's that backhand force letting the Japanese throw those little quick short throws they're really comfortable with.
They're really and they're actually doing a really phenomenal job of throwing great fakes and moving very wide with their pivot. So they're almost on that backhand, especially on the inside out, they're stepping right past that mark.
Yeah.
And then
despite
able to almost throw just a wrist throw.
Differential.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think a lot of people would consider this Japanese team much more comfortable throwing inside-out flicks, and that may be what New Zealand is really worried about, the inside-out flick and then the big around flick blade on the open side that dives in over the top of the defender on the open side. But they're really they're killing them with backhand right now.
Yeah. And giving the Japanese a chance to throw those little high rotation backhands on a windy day is...
That's tough.
Volicic up the line.
It'll be interesting to see if New Zealand can adjust, maybe think about a slightly different strategy.
Another unforced error by the Kiwis. Part of what I think we're seeing here is just a skill differential in terms of just throwing skill. The Japanese top to bottom are very, very talented. We've seen one unforced error from the Japanese, but from the Kiwis, maybe 6 or 7. There's that little backhand up the line. Big hammer of a mark from Volicic. Again, a little backhand into space. Out to the forehand side. And a drop.
Really uncharacteristic drop there, but wow, what great heads-up play there by Japan to really win that transition. And they're going to get an opportunity at D here. But Kiwi comes down with it.
Size is helpful. Volcic going out. Waiting for the disc. Gives Miyabe a chance on the D, and disc comes back to him. Unmarked, he scans the field. Miyoshi. Hirai. Miyoshi. Hayashi. Calls timeout. Smart timeout. I thought that the Japanese offense had stalled a little bit. They'd thrown 5 or 6 resets and really not gained any ground or moved it off that sideline. It's a chance to take a really commanding 7-2 lead. They're going to lose that timeout going into half anyway. I like that set.
Yeah, was that a timeout by Miyoshi?
Miyoshi, yeah.
You know, he's a player that we've seen a lot, has been on this Japanese roster for many years, and is actually a player I would traditionally think of as more of an O-team player.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to see him on this D-line, really probably bringing that kind of heads-up veteran sort of mentality to be able to take a low stall count timeout when the offense isn't really working quite well. Nobody's frantic, nobody's panicked, but he can sense the gravity of this point and really know that they're going to run away with something if they can put this one in, especially going upwind.
You know, I've been kind of watching the Japanese subbing patterns, and we have not seen Matsuno at all on the field yet.
It's really interesting.
It'd be interesting to wonder if he's hurt or if they just decide that they don't need him for this game. And the Japanese have been playing really their whole roster, the full, with the exception of Matsuno. I think we've seen everybody on the team, on the field at some point or another here. Smart. I mean, if you can get up 6-2 playing everybody.
Yeah, I think especially in a kind of a long tournament, but with fewer games, you know, only 2 games per day for most of these teams. And Japan brings a full 28-man roster. So really getting everybody, getting their legs under them against maybe international competition for some of the people who have not played in that situation, in front of a home crowd, big crowd. Really great idea to get your whole roster some play time here.
Lovely low break by Hiyoshi to get out of a high stall count jam. Gets it back. Hayashi. Miyabe in the middle of the field. Back to Miyabe. Miyoshi for the goal. The veteran really taking over.
I think
starts the possession, ends the possession.
And again, just bringing that kind of calm poise, especially to the handler offense. I think one thing that's been really interesting was just seeing how well they run that give-go on the backhand side. And they're not, you know, they're really not throwing that kind of tempting
little high
backhand. They're like playing the wind perfectly and really throwing a nice, hard, flat throw into their receiver's chest.
Yeah.
It's really helping their offense move.
Right. Japanese coach. The break mark? Yeah, that's what I want. Okay.
Why on the call?
Here's Japan with the pull to take half, up 7-2. Ryan to Fishman. That's Dikuma. McFarland on the swing. He's got receivers going out. Low throw, macked up. Lots of people get to play. Oh!
And a great second
catch.
effort.
Unbelievable second effort. Just just, if the grass was, I mean, the grass is beautiful here. It's only about half a centimeter short. If it was any longer, surely going to be a turnover.
That, you know, I think at this point for New Zealand, they're really going to keep needing big plays like that in order to crawl back into this game. And specifically, they need some energy like that on defense.
And here's the throw. I mean, the receivers are wide open. The throw's off target, pops up on the nice touch D.
And just a really focused grab.
Great hustle play. You'll see as the disc comes in, just pulling it right out of the turf.
And that Japanese defender, just nothing you can do there. You know, just a great, people make great plays sometimes.
Well, let's really credit Tim Germer with the great catch.
Absolutely. And again, you know, I think on a certain level, there's some team strategy improvements that New Zealand can make going into this half and certainly coming out of this half, specifically on defense, but on some level, they seem to really thrive on some of those big plays. Hopefully they can build some momentum, get back into this game.
So it's 4-7. Kiwis pulling to Japan. Pulls out the back, so he'll be coming up to the brick mark. It's a chance to pick a break back up going downwind. We've seen a string of upwinders here. Chance to go into half, getting the disc 8-4, or even 8-5 should they be able to string a couple in a row here.
That's a really tough spot to put your defense in too. I know there is a tailwind there on that pull, but you'd really like to land it in bounds.
I mean, you're looking at giving up 50 yards there, right?
Man, that's a killer.
Japanese in a straight horizontal stack. There are two Japanese players named Tanaka. This is Tanaka Mizuho.
And right off the bat, throws a really nice flat, just with a little bit of edge on it, flick huck, right over the top of the stack. And that's going to do two things for them. One, I think on this play, it got them, 60 yards. But two, now New Zealand's really going to have to adjust for that right off the bat short range huck, which isn't something that a lot of teams are willing to throw. Therefore, not something a lot of teams really game plan for. I think that kind of throw is what's going to open up Japan to be able to march it up the field the rest of this game. And basically proving that they'll do it.
Right, proving that they'll do it. And although credit the Kiwis with changing their D, they are playing force flick. Sasakawa on the dump to Tanaka. Comes back again. Perhaps a pick call. After that initial flick, the Japanese have actually lost yards on about 6 passes. Up the line to Tanaka, little bump from the marker, really aggressive mark. Fight for a little short. Japanese get a little lucky break of their own. And I think we're gonna have a travel called here on Sameshima.
Maybe travel, foul, down, simultaneously all three. Again, Kiwis bringing a really hard mark at this point.
And
excellent
lovely
break.
Little back step by Sameshima.
Ouch, overplayed him, pushed him a little bit to the forehand side, like I'm gonna throw this swing, and just both simultaneously kind of stepped across the mark and backwards with his pivot, and then released really low and forwards to get underneath his hand. Just a really, really beautiful break here. Leans him forward.
Steps back and away to get separation.
And playing that wind perfectly right into the hands of his receiver. And again, another sort of situation where Japan just shows really technically sound fundamentals. That's not a throw, even at the highest level of U.S. Ultimate that everybody has, certainly.
It's the footwork that sets that apart.
It's really, yeah, absolutely. Footwork, and you can tell they've just, he's thrown that throw probably 1,000 times in the last month. I think one thing here, we may see going downwind a little bit of a junk from Japan. And I'm wrong there. Looks like they're picking up man-to-man again.
We haven't seen any We haven't seen any junk from the Japanese this game.
We really haven't. I wonder if it's the kind of thing that, Lou, before the tournament, when we're talking all of these teams, one of the sort of things that everybody has been very concerned about is
even talking to us.
Has been keeping a veil on their strategy.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is a situation where Japan says, well, everybody's watching us. Why would we throw? We have a comfortable lead.
Right. We can clear our bench.
We can clear our bench. Why would we throw a strategy point that's going to help us against some of the bigger teams later?
Right. Because and particularly in a game that they know is going to be video on demand.
Right.
On our website.
Right.
And a great D coming in on the New Zealand player standing waiting for the disc. Little hustle play from Hidai.
And that was Ken Dikama just really kind of, I think he just didn't know there was a defender on his tail at all. It was a situation you'd like to see him running through, stepping towards the disc a little harder, but I think he just had the easy open side turnaround. He was thinking about his next step.
Yep. Okay, the pass from Sasanabe is going to stand. Force forehand. Inside out, bobbled but caught. Looks deep. Big forehand blade across the field. Too much air underneath it.
Wow. Again, that's one of those throws that I think outside of this Japanese team, you almost never see even anybody looking for it. But that offensive cutter knows that's what his thrower wants, so he's really baiting his defender to come over to the open side and turning the page on him to come around to the backside just instantaneously.
And I think the difficulty there is that space closes out so quickly that you got to put blade on it to get it there.
Oh, absolutely.
But in this situation, going downwind, when you put that much blade on it, wind's able to get underneath it.
Right.
And there's just no chance that that's going to be completed.
Yeah, even if it hits the defender, that thing's coming in, or hits the offensive player, that thing's coming in real hot.
Neal catches the swing underneath. Finds McFarland out in the flat. It's going to go back to Neal on the pick call. Neal with the disc in the middle of the field.
In WIFDIF, unlike at UPA Nationals, no matter what, unless the thrower is in the motion or the disc is in the air, that disc goes back on the pick call. So unlike in the US where if it's not a part of the play, it doesn't come back, WIFDIF rules slightly different there.
McFarland, Neal, and Volicic playing a little bit of a three-man game. McFarland not finding much. Does eventually get it out to Fishman, who again finds Neal. Neal's really doing a great job chewing yards for the Kiwis on this point.
Foul called here.
Yeah, just a little. I don't like what I've got. Let me draw a chip foul call there on Sugaya.
I think the Japanese may be feeling a real hard mark from the Kiwis and responding by bringing a little bit more lumber.
So Neal tried a big forehand inside out. The wind got up underneath it, drug it a long, long way. Contested in the middle of the field. And the crowd doesn't like the call.
That's a hard situation. I'm not going to weigh in on whether I think that was a foul or not, but again, like you're saying, crowd didn't like the call. I think really a difficult situation for Kiwis to put their own player in. You'd like handler offense to be slightly easier.
Yep. Volicic swings it out. Big forehand across the field. Neal goes up big in the crowd. Back across the field to the brother of Aaron Neal, Andrew Neal, number 33. And we're looking at 8-4 Japan.
a series of really great catches here. Kind of a tough floater, might not even have been to Neal on that swing, but he comes down with it in traffic and then has the heads-up play to throw it back, counter across the field, and hit his brother.
Yeah, lots of people have collapsed on that big throw across the field. Lots of the Japanese defender come in and try to make a play on that floater, and once Neal came down with it, he had his pick of 3 or 4 guys he could go on to.
And in one case, as a defender in that situation, I think you always want to collapse on that 50-50 ball.
Oh yeah.
But Japan maybe gets burned on that because the taller, more often than not on that kind of floaty throw, the taller offensive player comes down with it, and then just like you're saying, just has his pick of easy options. Much better pull this time.
Yeah, great pull. Tanaka's just going to let it land, though, knowing why risk catching that blade when you can walk it up to the front of the goal line. I don't actually like that pull.
Because it rolls out.
Because it rolls out. Like, you got the downwind, why not throw the floater that's just gonna sit and stay in bounds?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks cool.
No, I agree with that.
Crowd likes it.
Or throw that blade a little higher, have it land on the goal line, hopefully inducing somebody to try and grab it.
Right.
And then if it rolls, it hopefully settles before it hits that back line.
We're looking at some sort of a zone set. Looks like a standard 3-3-1, although now they're stepping in to make it a 4-2-1. We're 2 passes in. Sasakawa with the big throw across the field. Ryan is calling him out. Nope. His teammate steps in and says, no, he was in.
New Zealand really almost got exactly what they wanted there out of that zone. A bit of a floaty hammer. Defender almost made it over there.
Back in inside out to Sameshima. Sasakawa. This might be a 1-3-3.
Really loose wall, though. They're almost manning up on those
Tanaka
hammers.
with a little shuffle inside. Punches through to Sameshima. Takahashi. Just chipping away with backhands. Kiwi's finally able to get reset.
Now there's 2 markers in this.
Swung around to Sasakawa.
It's just a sort of a loose, almost a loose traditional cup.
More with the big lumber. Sasakawa. Lovely little flip pass to Takahashi. Takahashi struggles through a brutal mark. Just keeps play moving, knowing the advantages to the defense on a stoppage. Sasakawa. Tanaka. Takahashi. Japanese slow the tempo down. Inside and then through. And Statue of Liberty to Takahashi for the goal. And there's going to be some kind of a call here. Travel call is the only thing I can think of.
Really nobody picked up that trailer coming up the field. Just like you're saying, Statue of Liberty is about the easiest play for a score in the game, totally unguarded.
The Kiwis have transitioned into man. Taylor called for the foul. Shiba dumps it to Tanaka. Tanaka with the big forehand, and just a great catch by Kudono.
That's a really athletic grab, but I think probably Japan at no point during the flight of that disc probably did any of the Japanese teammates there wonder about whether it would be caught. It's almost textbook with the kind of speed. That's really a nice layout.
Yeah, I don't like the throw.
I don't like the throw choice, but I think I didn't have a lot of doubt about that defender catcher or that offensive player, Japanese player catching it.
Yeah.
I think the question there and why I think that throw is a tough one right there is more whether he's going to catch it in bounds. Made a great effort, made a great catch, and fortunately didn't have his arm land out first.
Okay. Well, it's 9-4 Japan over New Zealand. New Zealand will be getting the disc start the second half, and we'll be taking a break. So go grab yourself a soda and a bag of chips. We'll see you in about 8 minutes. Our inaugural game here at the 2012 World Championships of Ultimate Guts. Today's games are encoded by Elemental Technologies, providing video processing solutions to deliver streaming content to any screen, anytime, anywhere, all at once. Chase, how have the Japanese done this first half?
Well, Japan's really getting everything that they want. They're not feeling rushed. They're throwing some really, really great break-side hucks. You know, they're able to really, they've been able to, with the backhand force that New Zealand's been throwing, they've really been able to get nice step-through inside outs as well as up lines all day, and that's kind of opened up that backside for their huck.
And the Kiwis, they're still clinging to this game, but really by force of making hustle plays. Just picking up a disc here and there. But we're seeing a big, I think a talent gap in terms of throwing skills between these two teams. Going live, Kiwi showing vertical stack. Force forehand from the Japanese. Dump to Volcic.
Again, here's a tough spot that New Zealand's offense has put itself in. Handler can't get a reset because of tight Japanese defense.
Getting Aaron Neal bailing him out.
Oh, man.
He's having a great game.
He is having a great game. He's picking up a lot of trash.
Swung back around from Ibrahim, back to Ibrahim. Fishman.
Again, that tough situation. Right now, it looks like their first option is really not able, on the dump, able to either get upline or an easy swing on the backside. And they're having to throw that inside out or something across the field a lot to the first person in the stack.
Nice bid by Fishman, bit of a backpack. You know, I think I give some credit to the Japanese D. They're sitting off early when the Kiwis are not looking at the reset, and then they're finding a way in to close out and shut down those resets. Little offhand from Nose to number 16.
I'm going to say that's still an experimental throw for Nose. That wasn't the cleanest lefty backhand I've ever seen, but he really made it work, especially in this wind. You know, it's the kind of thing you can.
They don't need to be clean to work.
They don't need to be clean. You can throw it up there.
Here it is. You can see he sees that separation. Little bit short, giving Dikema a chance on the D. See Nose picking it up. Fakes the forehand. Yeah, he hung that a little short.
He hung that a little short. And, you know, I think he really got helped by Deacom on the D. Deacom played really tight man-to-man, but wasn't looking at the thrower.
No.
And why would you on the break side, you know? That's a tough one because of the lefty.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tough one in short field.
Right.
You know, it's a little bit of a garbage time throw, but he got away with one. Again, great heads-up play by the Japanese receiver to reel that one in.
And not ideal start for the Kiwis. Come out, forced into a reset turnover on a swing, and they've given up a break, and now they're down 10-4. McFarland. Neal. Back to McFarland. Volcic. Back to McFarland. You know, I think the size of the Kiwis is giving the Japanese a little bit of trouble in that they're particularly early in the point yielding a lot of unders. McFarland right on the goal line.
Looks like injury called here.
I think he's going to claim that McFarland
Possibly a foul, yeah.
stepped on his foot on the cut.
You know, I agree. It looks as though the here's McFarland on the break side. Yep, right on his foot. Japanese defender Wakaya comes up a little lame there on that play. So it's going to go back.
Okay. Andrew Neal with the disc. Volcic, inside out. Back to Volcic. Little backhand flip to Neal. Volcic on the break. Well pursued on the open side. High backhand. Drop. Japanese immediately running with the backhands. He's got a receiver.
Prudently throws a swing instead.
Wakaya. Sugaya. Miyabe.
Again, great footwork to throw the
Little backhand
easy
around.
backhand break, and to have it not be a loss of yards there. You know, his feet make that a gain instead of having to throw the around for a loss of 2.
Okay. Pick call.
There's a really interesting, you know, the Japanese offense has been, when they kind of transition into their vert, they're really not setting up, oftentimes without a dump and certainly without 2 handler options. You know, when this primary handler gets it, there's no dump reset. So they're really going to bank on being able to throw that around whenever they can. And so far, they've really been able to do it again through great footwork. They've had either the inside out or the around.
Nice defensive stand here by the Kiwis, though. They've really been able to force the Japanese into 8 or 10 throws here on the goal line. Genshima with the disc. Miyabe. They're working off the front of the stack in this vertical. And the Kiwis, I think, are going to argue correctly, I think, that he was on the ground when he caught it. So it'll be Miyabe's disc on the goal line.
We'll see here on the replay. Gets the disc up line. That's a close one. But the disc is coming back.
Just classic.
Just textbook offense.
Just textbook.
You know, I would say that's another thing, a difference between the Kiwi offense and the Japanese offense is when they get close to the goal line, outside of one or two sort of shots that we've seen where Japan took what I would classify as sort of a lower percentage shot going away, Japan has been super solid on it's either a dump and a swing. On a very rare occasions, they'll throw that inside out, but a lot of times it's just give, go, give, go, give, go right into the end zone.
Yeah,
and the Kiwis get just a little bit more frantic.
Yeah, I think part of that difference is that if we think of it as a technology issue, right? The Japanese short game technology of the dump swing, running those little give and goes for the inside out, it's really fantastic. Might be one of the best in the world. I mean, I would say it is one of the best in the world. Obviously, the question is it the best one here?
Yes.
You know, but I think the Kiwis have really struggled with resetting the disc. They've been able to move the yards in big chunks, but when that is stalled out, they're not able to maintain possession dump swinging.
You know, one thing I would really think about here as a Kiwi offense would be to really just move a lot quicker, throw quicker passes.
And a first pass turnover gives the Japanese the disc on the goal line.
Again, just an unfortunate, unforced error.
He finds his way out to Tanaka. Tanaka with the lefty. 12-4.
It's that same little lefty flip pass going downwind. It's like it doesn't need hardly anything on it.
You know, actually, I think now that having seen it twice as a marker, you got to know, and you just got to defend for that and make them. The forehand inside out there is actually a really, really hard throw.
Yeah, absolutely, and that defender's very close. He's close enough to let the.
Here it is, boom, one step.
He's close enough to let that offensive player basically reach right over his shoulder. If he took a step back there, that's a much harder throw.
You know, part of what I think the Japanese throwers are seeing on those lefties is the face guarding defender. They know that defender's not seeing not seeing what the thrower's doing.
So they can throw almost anything up there.
Yeah.
I would wonder as this tournament progresses if we see that more from Japan against potentially harder defenders, a little bit more heads-up defenders on the end zone. They could throw into some situations where that might be a turnover.
Yes. What I think we would likely see is that the top teams, particularly those top defenders who are watching this game, are seeing that, and from a marking standpoint,
they just won't allow it.
They won't allow it. Yeah.
So again, this is a situation where I think if I was New Zealand, I would really try and hit my handlers a lot quicker, because just what you were saying, those Japanese defenders, especially on the handler, they sag for the first 2 counts, and then they're tight on right when that Kiwi offensive player is turning and looking. And it's almost as though if you just throw that disc right away, at least you change the angles.
Yep.
You know, a quicker offense, I think, could help them.
Kiwi's able to, though this time able to move it really just straight down the live side. I think they find Andrew Neal for the goal.
Again, the Neals just having great games, both of them.
Here we see Neal coming from the front of the stack, uses his size to shield the defender.
You know what I really like about that? It's just simple. It's dead simple.
Yeah.
They didn't throw anything tricky. Super high percentage.
Yep.
They used their sort of size superiority over Japan basically to muscle it in, and sometimes that's really the kind of thing that you need to get going.
Yeah. You know, so one thing I noticed about the way the Japanese were marking on the resets is that when the Kiwis are pivoting to throw the backhand, they're stepping all the way around to stop that backhand and make them throw that forehand inside out. And the Kiwis aren't expected it to be that hard. Okay.
Right.
So, and the Japanese, though, you can tell from the way they throw their breaks that when they're with that negative footwork, they're stepping back away from the marker, that they're used to dealing with that aggressive mark.
Yeah.
Takahashi. Oh, fantastic poach D by Vanderpost Clement, and he comes up holding his shoulder. Both teams stop. Trainers immediately on the field.
That was a really heads-up play. I mean, he was nowhere near the guy he was defending and just sold out on that. I think had he not gotten the D, he could have been in.
Okay, and he's getting up.
That's great to see.
You can see.
And his man is running deep.
His man's running deep from the sideline. He just let his man go and came in and got a huge block. Kiwis are the chance for their first break of the game.
In pretty good position here, only about 10 yards out of the end zone, close to the middle of the field. Tough situation where you have most of your team behind you.
Looking, and again, struggling with the reset. Bobbled in the middle of the field, turned over.
Here comes Japan.
Samishima, too far for Kamimura.
And it looks like there was a call.
There was a travel called.
But the turnover may have negated that being important at all.
Linforth Hall walking to pick it up. No, I think this is coming. I think that the receiver on the sideline was called out on the catch before the huck.
interesting.
So Linforth Hall is going to check it in, marked by Tanaka at about midfield.
And another
Kiwi.
lucky break for Kiwis.
Yeah.
An opportunity here with a bit of a short field.
Moore setting the front of the stack well off. Linforth Hall, I think, will likely call a foul there on Tanaka. Tanaka says yes, it was a foul.
And they hug it out.
There's the beautiful block. You can see it comes right down on his shoulder. That does not look like it feels particularly good. Linforth Hall with the disc, staring at sort of a slanted stack. Moore set in the front.
Again, the Kiwi vert stack really deep, a lot deeper than I would like to see it. And it's really hurting them. That means their deep shots are taking off from easily 40 yards away.
Another run through D by the Japanese.
And the Japanese can really just play on the back side and run past them on those unders.
Tanaka looks to Submission, not there. Swung to Takahashi. Seen a lot of these two working together. Huge block, huge bid by Ryan. Kudono serves up a big block.
It's nice to see some fire out of the Kiwis on defense.
Two huge blocks at this point. That one by Adam Lothian. Linforth Hall walking to pick it up.
I think that was a bit of a miscommunication by Japan.
Yeah.
Thrower was zigging, receiver was zagging.
Lothian still not taking any chances.
Yeah, no. Great D. Way to be sure.
Nice break by Linforth Hall, dropped at midfield. Tanaka walking slowly to pick it up. Timeout by Tanaka. Okay. Timeout by Tanaka, and we're going to take a short break. Be back with you in a moment. Welcome back. We're in the second half of our inaugural game here at the World Ultimate Guts Championship. It's Japan 12, New Zealand 5. Japan is coming in with the disc. Little shy of midfield, heading downwind.
This has been a really long point here. Maybe the longest point we've seen all game, and a big part of it is that New Zealand's really brought quite a bit of defensive fire. I think they have two really nice blocks in this point. Still can't really make it happen on offense, but they're putting in a great effort here.
And we see Stevenson knocking over the Japanese thrower.
Foul called.
Takahashi, I believe.
Violation.
Disc is going to go back, not checked in.
Japan in a spread here. Out of both teams, I feel like today we've seen a little bit of both spread and vert.
Yeah.
Ooh, an uncharacteristic drop.
Kudono dropping it open by 2 steps. He didn't have to make it as hard as he did.
No, he really didn't.
Linforth Hall walking to pick it up. Gurman up line. Overthrows more in the middle of the field.
And really that, again, it's, where New Zealand's really struggled. They've had, some other turnovers, but their handler offense, their swing offense is really where they've thrown a lot of turnovers.
Takahashi with a big forehand finds Kamimura for the goal.
There's that classic cross-field flick huck with a little bit of blade on it, right at the
really well set
cutter.
up by that dump swing. Natural response from the defender is to follow that flow of the disc, defend the strong side, and then he just gets caught.
What I'm always so surprised at, and Japan is just excellent at this, they throw it without really thinking about it, and I'm so surprised that it doesn't get snagged out of the stack a little bit more.
Now, look where that cut came from. That cut came from right in front of the disc, going away to the weak side. immediately.
Yeah. And the thrower really just like turned the corner, pivoted one way, and instantaneously threw it.
There's number 11, boom, leaving from right in front of the thrower. Not even fake to go to the live side. He just immediately is going to the weak side.
Right.
Really different from the North American way of setting that cut up, where it'd really be a turn the page cut where you work the live side. It's not there.
Right.
Then you're coming
back. You bait
back.
the defender to come across and beat you to the strong side, and then you take the easy away.
Wakaya with the disc, with the pull, about to the upwind brick. Volstich brings it down, and they're going to be sending Volstich deep. Neal goes ahead and takes a shot at him, and if he can get there, it'll be a... I like that look. I think it was there. I like the throw by Neal. Volstich not really happy with the placement of it. I think he wanted that more. He wanted more of a traditional throw. You see Neal kind of taking a page from the Japanese playbook, throwing that across the stack to the weak side. I think if Volstich had been going there the whole way, it'd have been an easy goal.
And that's a lot more difficult throw to throw through the stack, through a vert stack.
Yep.
He really had to put it, out beyond the vert stack. He can't really turn it around over the top the way the Japanese throwers tend to throw away to that back corner at an angle, as opposed to really gunning through on the inside out. I mean, it's really more of an inside out huck that maybe tags off the back of the stack. Just a tough play. I like the idea of taking a shot here for New Zealand, but you'd really like to have your offensive player make contact with it.
Vertical from the Japanese, and backhand pops up in the wind, and 3 6-footers in a crowd's not going to be good for the Japanese. Dump takes the mark. The mark takes the dump away.
There's a foul downfield. And it appears, on the throw. On the original throw by Japan. So it looks like this is going to come back and Japan will retain possession. No contest
from Gibson.
Uncontested.
Miyoshi. Really nice job marking by Buckingham. Gets the Kiwis the disc. Neal again. They're going to call him in. He's calling himself in. Wow, he's just making plays.
He's just making plays.
They need some more of him.
They do, and New Zealand kind of hanging around here. I think Japan has sort of brought their intensity level down a little bit. And
the focus has slipped.
The focus has slipped. Yeah, they threw a couple of unforced errors on drops. Threw a few throws. That was great. You're right. Great handler defense by New Zealand, but
Buckingham. I like to give Buckingham a lot of credit on that mark. He put the right kind of pressure without fouling to force the Japanese thrower to.
Absolutely, but it wasn't his heads-up play per se. The throw just hit him in the butt.
No. Buckingham was the marker.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and he forced that thrower into trying to throw to somebody who was covered.
To someone who was covered.
Yeah.
And again, I think not an error we always would see out of Japan. I agree with you. I think their concentration may have slipped a little.
About to go.
So here we are with New Zealand with an opportunity to hopefully capture an upwind break.
And it is 13-6, Japan over New Zealand. Tanaka looking deep, poached. Gonna find Furuzawa on the under. Lovely touch. Forehand to Shiba for the goal.
That was just like absolutely textbook poach breaking right there.
Yeah.
Japan deep shot, draws 2 defenders. The person who got poached off on the draw on the back comes under, gets it, turns, finds his friend who was formerly covered by 2, open going away.
Yeah. I mean,
nice easy 1-2.
A classic example of why a good poaching system is actually 3 people. It's man on, it's the help, and then you have to have that third guy to clean up the mess, because there's always going to be a mess.
There's always going to be a mess.
14-6 Japan. This is not game point. It is a game to 17. Again, I'm curious about the absence of Masahiro Matsuno. We have not seen him a single point this game.
I'm not even totally sure I see him on the sideline. There he is. You're right, though. So far, not checking into this game. That'll have to be something we follow up on, because that could be certainly
have
a huge impact on their run through this tournament.
Yeah. I mean, they're probably at, a handful, maybe 6 A+ players at this tournament. He would be one of them. For him to be out would be really a profound impact on the whole landscape.
Great heads-up D there by Japan to turn and leave his man and just find the disc.
Yeah, 2 Kiwis were open, though. They had separation. Oh, miscue. Oh!
And another great play in the end zone by New Zealand. Made it harder than he had to, but
much harder than he had to. And that is Nick Panu with the great, great catch. Looked like a turnover when he let go of it. Fishman let go of that thing, I thought, oh, you're just giving it back. Panu coming up big. 14-7.
And again, you'd hope that hopefully this New Zealand D team could ride a little bit of that momentum and just give the Japanese defenders a little bit something more.
So this game's looking like a pretty clear Japanese victory. From here, if you're New Zealand, where do you go?
I think that's a great point, Lou. I think this ties in nicely with what we spoke with each team before the tournament about, which was their expectations. And, these two teams have different expectations, and different goals for this tournament. Japan is looking to finish
number one.
And that's it.
Yeah.
In front of their home crowd, there's a lot of pressure on them to perform. They're historically in the top 3 or top 2 even of teams at this tournament. And New Zealand is really, they're more looking to show. They want to break seed. They want to get into the power pool. That was something that they really sort of highlighted as one of their goals for the first part of this tournament.
So they have a big game. They have big games against Great Britain, who's the 2 seed in their pool, and Austria, who's the 4 seed in their pool, later this week. And top 3, by the way, going to power pools.
Exactly. And, I think for the rest of this game, you'll see that, just what we're talking about. Japan might be really just letting their roster play, trying to save their legs for future games. And New Zealand, I think, just needs to get in a good rhythm. They're the kind of team that isn't going to be as technically sound with as well-rounded a roster as a Japan or a USA or Canada. But, if they get on a roll and make plays like that, they're going to be putting themselves in a good position to make power pools.
Yeah. They, the path I see for them is what we've seen them be successful with today is they're going to need, they don't have the reset technology to play a possession game.
Right.
But they've shown that they've got the size and the receivers.
The playmaking ability, certainly.
McFarland.
I think, they're going to ride their defense. Yeah. And that, that's going to get it done for them.
Yep.
They're putting on good hard marks and certainly coming up with plays here and there.
Play with some passion. If they can get that defense intensity going and build on some of the fire that we've seen them show on defense today.
Absolutely.
I think they're going to need to have Volicic have an awesome game.
Yeah. It's clear that he's both a big thrower and a big receiver and a big defender for them.
Yeah. Japanese in possession. Tanaka with the disc. Looks out and they work it around. Nice little touch forehand. Beautiful throw. The wind has lit up here a little bit. And that was Hidai, I believe, for the goal.
That's just a situation where number 11, Limforth Hall, has got to just be shaking his head and going, where did that throw come from? actually played pretty tight, pretty great defense going
Right.
away. You know, that would be one of those situations where, as a defender, I would just, you know, there's nothing you can do. How do you guard against that?
And
You're just concentrating on your guy and trying to stay with his hips as he's turning the corner, and then the thing just drops right in the bread basket.
Yeah, the Japanese, their horizontal set, it does a really nice job of opening, throwing alleys, because that throw, the Australians tried that exact same throw maybe 2 points ago, or the Kiwis, I'm sorry, tried that exact same throw maybe 2 points ago, but they were throwing it through traffic.
Right, the alley wasn't there.
The alley wasn't there, but here, the alley's there for that disc to go, travel, get out in space, and then just sit and wait for the thrower. And nice recognition from the thrower to recognize that the wind really has let up a lot. And
get it there.
And just get it there. Just sit it in space, wait for it.
You know, which is a really interesting concept that I think not a lot of people as a thrower would really think of, is a lot of times you're concentrating on where that disc is going to come down, as opposed to, you know, where it's going to be for the full flight of it. And it really does look like these Japanese throwers are highlighting not just where I am and where I need to put it, but the path that it's going to take to get there. Really finding that, you know, the soft spot in the defense where they can shoot those throws through.
And the conditions.
And the conditions.
They're taking the wind conditions. I think that they've done a really nice job of tailoring their throws to the wind.
Foul called here on by the New Zealand receiver.
Yeah, Buckingham, I think, called a foul or a strip on that catch. He did a nice job of sealing his defender and just didn't finish the play. Ibrahim again going to Buckingham. Nice catch by Ryan under pressure. Buckingham. See that Japanese mark pressuring that backhand around. Hail Mary. Size wins. Dikuma for the score. I think we're going to see this going back on a contested stall.
Man, that was an interesting situation where I think both the thrower and Dikuma sort of kind of went, this is going to be, you know, this is going to be a high stall count. He's just going to throw it here.
Well, it was interesting, though, that Buckingham never even looks for the reset, that he's letting that marker
dictate where he can and can't throw.
Is Miyoshi
uncontested stall?
It's going to stand as, you know, as Miyoshi just steps over to pressure that backhand, Buckingham just looks it off.
Well, and not only that, but the Japanese defender who was on the dump was sagging a long way into the lane.
Yeah.
I mean, he can almost
throw anything over there.
You can throw anything over there.
Yeah. Number of players coming off the Japanese bench, getting some of their first minutes of the game. Nice little quick play between Arakawa and Genshima. Comes back to Arakawa.
Really, really great throw and guard there by the Japanese handler set.
Arakawa looks at it, doesn't like it. Set back to Genshima.
There's that step around break backhand again.
Miyoshi on the goal line. Nice space throw using the wind. Genshima. Genshima.
Calls timeout.
Okay. Welcome back to our inaugural game at the World Ultimate Guts Championship. It's 15-7 Japan. Japan's got the disc about, Japanese got the disc about 20 yards out.
Setting up in a
Genshima
vertical
with the
stack
disc.
here.
And vertical stack from the Japanese. Veteran Miyoshi is going to cut right away. Not get it. Hirai.
Kind kind of an interesting, that might have been, it's rare that we see the Japanese handler set lose a lot of yards in a situation like that. It almost looked like their first option was to have that handler cut across the front of the stack and get the break backhand.
Big foul by Dikuma. Not much there. Looking reset. Nice mark by Dikuma, forces about a 10-yard loss.
That's an interesting foul call from Japan. I feel like we haven't seen that a lot from them. They tend to they've really been handling the aggressive marks and the contact a lot and playing right through it.
And that throw's going to be too far.
And again, in that situation, I'm wondering if that wasn't detrimental to what Japan wants to do here to actually call that foul.
I think it is. I think this is a little bit of a case of we're seeing a lot of Japanese players. I haven't seen a lot of time yet in this game.
Yeah.
Of them lacking the experience and poise
against international competition, especially.
Yeah. And how to deal with the physicality. I mean, that's certainly something that historically the Japanese teams have had trouble with, is if you really put a lot of physical pressure on them, that they struggle with it.
There's a little bit of a jump ball.
Dikuma trying to find Fishman, leaves a little bit short. Genshima. Sasanabe. Big throw to Arakawa. And the hustle play is going to make it 16-7 as Saito comes from a long way off, robbing Andrew Neal of a block. Neal, yet another Neal.
Yeah, great catch up. Made up a lot of ground here on the little bit of a floaty huck. Got a great D.
Should have caught it.
Got to catch that.
I mean, that's an easy one for him to catch. I mean, he gets a whole hand on that thing.
He got a whole lot of it. It's true.
Throws the hat.
You really also, of course, in a perfect world, whoever was defending the Japanese player who caught it, Saito, you'd love to have him following the play as well to be able to make at least some kind of desperation, something there.
Yeah.
But great hustle play.
Yeah.
Came up with a goal.
Yeah. And as much as you want to give credit to Andrew Neal for getting the block, he really should. He really should catch it.
Got to catch that one.
Yeah. Because that wasn't, it wasn't close. Once he made up that ground.
No.
Yeah.
And I think not only that, you just expect at this point that every 50-50 is going to have quite a few Japanese offensive players or defensive players around it. You got to get in there and get in the pack as well.
Particularly on a day like this where it's windy. Anytime it's windy, disc's going to do really unpredictable things, and Ds are going to pop up, and we've seen a number of second effort goals today.
And credit New Zealand, they've come up with many of those.
I think in the balance they're ahead on hustle plays in this
absolutely.
game.
That's a tough one.
Except maybe there's maybe 3 run through blocks that might tilt the scales against them.
That could be.
So Japanese pull into New Zealand. It is 16-7.
Match point.
Really dominating performance by the Japanese.
Yeah, I think this sets them up really nicely going into the rest of the tournament. Just like you're saying, they widen their rotation quite a bit. They rest a lot of their starters. Get some probably needed international experience for some of their players that haven't seen a really aggressive mark or played against really tall, athletic competitors. And I think they're in exactly the position that they want to be in.
Yeah. They've gotten everything that they wanted to get out of this game. They got.
Absolutely.
They got a pretty easy win. They're able to play their bench. They didn't have to show their zone.
I think if I'm New Zealand here, I'd really, really like to just set myself up going into some of these next contests, and that's not really going to do it except for another great grab.
Again, the size differential there is probably.
Is that Neal again?
That was Ryan.
Oh, Ryan.
Defended by Arakawa. Maybe the shortest of the Japanese players. And McFarland goes too long to Robertson. Genshima walking to pick it up for the win. Here's Ryan going up big for the catch.
Both hands.
Both hands. As I watched New Zealand win these jump balls late in the game, I'm wondering that they didn't throw more jump balls
early on. Or or even a little bit harder to strategize this, but try and force Japan into some situations where it's a windy day.
Yeah.
You can make possibly some slight adjustments on your mark and the way you're playing downfield to kind of force a little bit more in the way of jump balls to play right into your strategic advantage.
Japanese come out of the timeout again, playing sort of that clutter stack where they just make things look kind of messy. I think trying to disguise whatever they're working on offense.
And that is a laser.
From Genshima.
Oh.
Arakawa not quite able to catch up with it. Apologizes to Genshima for dropping it.
I think he got his hand on it. That's a catchable disc.
If you touch it.
That's not a catchable disc for you or I, Lou, but that's a speedy offensive cutter.
That's it. Here it is.
I think he got a good piece of it right there.
That he should catch it. I'm not sure he's going to be in, but he
possibly not.
He put a full hand on it. First horizontal set from the Kiwis we've seen today. Find the big swing across the field. Big floaty forehand to McFarland.
There's what you're talking about.
He's got Robertson wide open, and that's going to be a goal. I like the horizontal set from the Kiwis. They were able to get a reset there. They were able to move the disc across the field.
I would really wonder, too, that a part of that isn't that their horizontal set has 3 handlers back.
Yeah,
they're not trying to run with one handler blowing up the line and then having to hit a hard inside out or a swing in that vertical. And they didn't, it's not an ideal situation, but that kind of break blade that went up to set that play up.
Yeah.
Not a super tough throw,
No, not a hard throw at all.
Way easier than having to gun that inside out to a highly covered contested throw out of the stack. And then, again, they throw to height.
They
just throw to height. I think, this really actually could be an ideal situation for the Kiwis if they can, even if they don't score this point, but put hard D on, again, trying to gain some of that momentum coming out of this game so that it doesn't feel like all is lost.
Right.
Get good legs, make a good stand. Even if, if you can force a D, that's great. If you can punch it in, that's even better. But you'd love to run.
That was the first Kiwi break of the game right there.
That might have been the first Kiwi break of the game.
And Japan looks to have...
Great pull here. It's going to go out of bounds, though. I take it back. That disc did not look like it was traveling as far as it did until it got up above the stadium and really caught the wind.
Yeah. Side stack from the Japanese.
Again, something we've seen sort of rarely. Each team pulling. We haven't seen a lot of side stack from Japan. We've seen it once or twice, but
not
recently. No.
I think they've really won this game with their handler motion.
Absolutely. I think, and if I were watching this game as one of the top 4 or 5 seeds in this tournament, I would really focus on that.
Tanaka. Oh. Crazy little break there to Nose.
Foul called.
They're almost running a isolation offense where they just get one guy out in front of the disc and give him a chance to work.
And he's really getting like a good 5, 6, 7 seconds out in the lane.
Throws left a little short. Everybody's going deep for the Kiwis. Ryan with a big throw. It's going to be a jump ball.
Oh, maybe not. Oh.
Lothian just drops it. He's not happy with himself.
That Japanese defender gave up too. That was actually a really nice throw to a speedy cutter.
And he just lost it.
He just lost it.
Didn't really ever make much of an effort to find it again. here's Lothian with the goal and the drop. Tough moment.
Yeah, that really would have been.
Been nice momentum for them to end with
that would have
3,
been fantastic for New
to
Zealand.
get 2 breaks in a row.
But you know, here they are. They've gotten a D in this point. I think again, if they can come out and really make Japan grind, you know, if they're going to win, going upwind, just make them work.
Make them work. I think the focus has slipped a little from Japan after that timeout at 16-6. Tanaka looks out, not much there. Shiba goes up big, long forehand. Oof. Wow, they even had a play on that. It's impressive.
That's really impressive.
Linforth Hall.
If I were New Zealand here, I'd really be setting myself up again to throw one of those deep pucks.
Linforth Hall, I think there's going to be a foul called by Shiba on the "you stood on my foot."
That appears to be what he's signing.
Do you think that's a foul? Isn't that incidental contact?
You know, it's a tough one. I think, yeah, incidental contact, but in general, I think the incidental contact oftentimes is a little bit more two-wayed as opposed to totally crippling one player and setting the other one up for a great cut.
I guess.
It's a tough call.
Yeah, I mean, sort of feel like as a defender, it's your job. If the guy's just running, it's sort of your job to position yourself in a way that you're not just giving up.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Lothian gets another chance.
Foul called.
Foul called by Ryan. Again, it was Ryan to Lothian again.
Right. And he, you know.
He made a great bid. Great effort on that one.
He did make a great bid and was very, you know.
Ryan's going to get around the foul on the mark. Gets way out there. And Lothians cannot. Oh, he's just quarter of an inch short.
I think it knocked the wind out of him a little bit. That probably didn't feel real good.
Disc comes back to Ryan at midfield.
You know, you in a lot of ways, you'd rather see the reverse throw choice. You know, Ryan with probably at least 4 inches on his defender. Lothian pretty close to the same size as a lot of the Japanese players.
But good speed.
Great speed. But certainly what's been working for New Zealand so far has been a lot more thrown to their height.
Another missed huck by the Japanese here. Really uncharacteristically sloppy at the end of the game.
Yeah. Foul called, I think.
Oh, foul called by...
On the play before.
I think this had to be a traveler pick to go all the way back to Tanaka because it was... Tanaka didn't throw the turnover.
No,
Ito threw the turnover. Okay, checked in. Very tight mark on Tanaka. Gets around. Ito. Tanaka works a little circle cut. All kinds of defense in there. Ryan. Well poached and defended by Connolly. Just too much size and strength in there for Ito.
Ryan came, you know, off the backside. Connolly was putting a good body on that.
Bit predictable cut by Tanaka.
Yeah.
Moore. Big forehand to Ryan. Really too much pace on it. Shiba. Hammer point blocked. Kusano scoops it but agrees that it's down. Linforth Hall. And we're going way back on a travel call, probably on Linforth Hall.
You know, he did something I really think is great, though, and I'd love to see more out of New Zealand's offense, which was pick it up and move the disc.
Yeah.
You know, just immediately getting rid of it and moving it across the field, and then moving himself, you know.
Yeah.
The throw and go, I think, just any kind of little easy throw that changes the angles could really help them.
Yeah. Connolly finds Ryan. Back to Connolly, run and give and go. Back across the field. Ryan. Oh!
Wow.
He missed it the first time.
He did.
And then Connolly's he's just got to do so much work. He could have made it so much easier on himself.
Oh, he knows it too. He knows it. Oh, Connolly.
So Ryan, his third
Really?
shot, his third shot at the
Really?
end zone. This point, nice soft backhand. Here's the easy catch. Waits, and somehow comes up with it.
You love that he made that play, but it was a lot harder than it had to be.
Yeah. So it's 16-9.
And that's a break. That's a break for New Zealand.
2 breaks in a row. That's this 3 straight points for the Kiwis, and I think here you're seeing the recipe for what a Kiwi victory would have to look like, which is rugged defense,
Taking some shots. Missing some of them. But coming up with some plays.
Yeah. So I think as we've seen today that recipe's not going to work against top teams able to maintain possession the way the Japanese are, but
I would, I would not be surprised here to see Japan put on a little bit of a stronger line and just finish. I said it before for the Kiwis, but I think Japan at this point is kind of thinking, okay, let's get out of this thing.
Right.
Let's get out of this thing. Let's capture some momentum. Again, they've played their game plan just great. They gave some of the lower spots on their roster an opportunity to close out, and they couldn't. And now you'd just like to see them close.
Yeah. Tanaka's back in. Takahashi.
And again, they come with this isolation kind of flood stack.
Giving Shiba a lot of room to work with. And we didn't see much of Shiba early on, but he's really been impressive here in this last 2 or 3 points. Tanaka. This is Takahashi. Just speed cuts coming out of the side stack. Ito. Tanaka.
And there it is.
Takahashi for the win. Such quick movement. And I think we're going to see here is the disc comes off the sideline, stalling 1, stalling 0, stalling 1, stalling 0. I mean, that's what the Japanese want to do. That's how they won this game, was just that really fast, short possession game. And so that's a wrap, folks. Japan 17, New Zealand 9 in our inaugural game. We're going to take a bit of a break. When we come back, we will be seeing the Japanese women versus the Australian women.